3 hours, and you think you can replace the entire emergency department? The head surgeon's voice echoed through the chaotic operating room as he stared at the young nurse standing in the center of the mayhem. Ambulances flooded in. Blood everywhere. Other doctors exhausted beyond limits. She didn't answer, just tightened her gloves, pulled the instrument tray closer. 3 hours later, the electronic board displayed over 40 cases handled, 0 deaths. The department head stood frozen. How is this even possible? A large hospital in suburban Texas. The emergency room always crowded, always tense. Elena Moore, 27 years old. Long brown hair tied back neatly. Bright eyes that others dismissed as naive. Her oversized white scrubs made her look even smaller. From day one, doctors whispered, "She's just a fresh graduate, not strong enough for tough cases." During early days, Elena was assigned menial tasks, fetching cotton swabs, cleaning trays, wiping bloodstains. Dr. Harris, the head surgeon, strict and unforgiving, never trusted her abilities. "More, get me gauze. More, clean that spill. More, stay back while professionals work." The dismissive commands came daily. Elena never complained. Once, Elena quietly picked up a discarded glove from the floor, then meticulously cleaned the surgical table. Such a small action, yet it showed rare discipline. But instead of praise, people smiled dismissively. Too careful, but doesn't really help. Elena never responded. She just smiled softly and continued working. During one critical case, while everyone panicked, Elena quietly stepped back, handing exact instruments as the surgeon extended his hand. That patient survived. No one noticed, except the patient's mother, who squeezed Elena's hand and whispered, "Dear, thanks to you, my son is still alive." But at the hospital, Elena remained labeled the nurse who only follows orders. Colleagues saw only surface performance. They missed the steel beneath her gentle exterior. They missed how she memorized every patient's name, every allergy, every fear whispered in darkness. Why does she volunteer for worst cases? Nurses gossiped during breaks. Probably trying to impress Dr. Harris, another laughed. Good luck with that. But Elena never sought recognition. She understood that real strength often goes unnoticed until the moment when everything depends on it. Night shifts became her specialty. While others avoided darker hours, Elena volunteered. She knew death visits most often when hospitals sleep, when fewer hands are available, when hope feels thinnest. "Why do you always take night duty?" a colleague asked. Elena's answer was simple. Someone has to be the light when it's darkest. During long nights, Elena developed routines. She checked patients every hour, not just for medical needs, but comfort. A gentle touch, a whispered reassurance, a promise someone was watching. The janitor, working late shifts for decades, noticed her dedication. "That girl's different. I've seen nurses come and go, but she treats every patient like family." Elena's reputation among patients grew, while medical colleagues remained skeptical. Families requested her specifically. Children stopped crying when she entered rooms. Elderly patients called her Angel. Still, medical staff saw only what they expected. A quiet nurse doing her job without making waves. A resident later recalled, "She wrote 3 words in her duty log corner. Still here." Later, I realized it was her reminder that she was still standing strong after each encounter with death. One stormy night, everything changed. The backup power system failed during the worst possible moment. Ambulances flooded in from a massive highway pileup involving 17 vehicles. the entire emergency department descended into chaos. Over 20 critical cases arriving simultaneously. Many doctors had already worked 24-hour shifts, exhausted beyond limits. Dr. Harris barked orders frantically. "Elena, stay out of the way. Don't interfere. We need professionals handling this." But Elena didn't leave. She couldn't leave. She put on gloves, adjusted lights, cleared blood paths for emergency surgeries. The scene was brutal. Blood pooling everywhere, monitors beeping frantically, families screaming in anguish outside trauma bays. "We need more hands," shouted a resident, sweat pouring down his face. "Where's the backup surgical team?" another voice called desperately. "Traffic's blocked. They can't get through," came the reply. In this chaos, Elena began moving with purpose. While others panicked, she began creating order from madness. First patient. Massive chest trauma. Elena assessed, prioritized, called for right equipment before anyone else realized what was needed. Second patient. Severe head injury. Elena started IV access while simultaneously checking pupils, her hands moving with practiced efficiency. "How does she know to do that?" a young resident whispered. During one surgery with massive hemorrhaging, while the lead surgeon fumbled for instruments, Elena instinctively clamped the auxiliary artery, saving the patient's life in seconds. The surgeon stopped cold. "That's advanced trauma technique. Where did you learn that?" Elena's brief reply: "Field practice." Nobody understood yet. But something had shifted. Elena wasn't just assisting anymore. She was leading. For 3 straight hours, Elena became the department's backbone. She triaged patients with military precision, rotated surgeries to maximize efficiency, ensured no one was left behind. "She's everywhere at once," marveled a paramedic bringing another critical case. When one patient's heart stopped, Elena personally performed chest compressions for over 15 minutes. Her arms ached. Sweat poured down her face, but she never slowed. "Come on," she whispered to the patient. "Stay with me. Your family is waiting." 15 minutes of continuous compressions. Other staff tried to relieve her, but she shook her head. "I've got this." Finally, a pulse returned, strong and steady. Dr. Harris watched from across the room, his face mixing anger and confusion. How was this quiet nurse doing things veteran doctors struggled with? The chaos continued, but something remarkable happened. Other nurses began following Elena's lead. She didn't give orders, she demonstrated. When she moved with purpose, others found purpose. When she remained calm, calmness spread. "Check airway, secure breathing, control bleeding," she murmured to herself, loud enough for others to hear. It became their mantra. Between cases, Elena did something remarkable. She took 30 seconds with each conscious patient. 30 seconds to look them in the eye, say their name, promise, "We've got you. You're not alone." In a place where people became cases, she kept them human. One patient, barely conscious, grabbed her sleeve. "Am I going to die?" Elena's answer was steady. "Not on my watch. Not tonight." The hours blurred together. Elena's scrubs became stained with blood and sweat, but her hands never shook. Her voice never wavered. While others panicked, she became the eye of the storm. By hour 2, something unprecedented happened. The department that had been in complete chaos was functioning like a well-oiled machine. Dr. Harris couldn't understand what he was witnessing. "Elena," he called during a brief lull, "you think 3 hours makes you capable of replacing an entire department?" Elena looked up from her patient. Her voice was calm, steady. "I'm not replacing anyone, doctor. I'm just doing what needs to be done." One patient who survived wrote online, I don't remember her face clearly, just that hoarse voice by my ear. Breathe with me. 1, 2, 3. When I opened my eyes, I was still alive. When the situation temporarily calmed, a curious doctor asked, "Elena, how do you know auxiliary artery clamping?" "That's military medical training, not nursing school curriculum." Elena fell silent for a moment, then lowered her head. The question hung in the air. Other staff members began gathering, suddenly aware they had witnessed something extraordinary. "And the triage system you used," another doctor added, "that's combat medical protocol." Rumors spread quickly through hospital corridors. Someone pulled out their phone, searched online. Within minutes, they found it. A brief documentary about Middle Eastern battlefields featuring combat medics in peacekeeping units. There she was, younger, in military fatigues, but unmistakably Elena. Elena Moore, combat medic, 3rd Medical Unit, served 3 tours. The truth emerged like dawn breaking. Elena wasn't just a new nurse. She had spent years as a battlefield medic, facing bombs and bullets, saving lives in dark bunkers where medical supplies ran short and hope ran shorter. But after returning home, she wanted to live quietly, applying to the hospital as an ordinary staff member. She never mentioned military service, never spoke of lives she'd saved under fire, never revealed medals locked away in a drawer at home. That night, the entire department was stunned witnessing her true skills, suturing wounds in 30 seconds, controlling bleeding with combat techniques, leading entire teams through chaos with calm authority of someone who had seen the worst humanity could offer. Dr. Harris, the strict department head, finally stood silent. Before the display screen showing, over 40 cases handled in 3 hours, 0 deaths. He exhaled deeply. Who are you, really?" Elena's quiet response. "Just a nurse. But I promised my unit. Never let anyone die if there's still a chance." Everyone around fell silent. A young doctor wiped away tears. Patients being wheeled out, their families kneeling in gratitude. The truth was more complex than anyone imagined. Elena had served 3 tours in conflict zones. She had performed surgery in bombed hospitals, delivered babies in refugee camps, held dying soldiers barely older than children. "The things I saw." Elena spoke softly, finally opening up. "You learn that every second matters. Every decision counts. Every life is someone's entire world." "Why didn't you tell us?" Dr. Harris asked later, when the rush had ended. Elena's answer revealed everything about who she was. "Because the moment you know someone's story, you treat them differently. I didn't want to be the war hero nurse. I wanted to be judged by what I do now, not what I did then." But the signs had always been there. The way she never flinched at blood. How she could work hours without fatigue. The calm that surrounded her during crisis. The 3 words in her log, "Still here," which had been her promise to fallen comrades. A colleague pieced it together. "That's why you volunteer for night shifts. That's why you're never rattled by emergencies. That's why you know exactly what to do when everyone else freezes." Elena nodded slowly. In the field, there's no backup coming. There's no one else to handle it. You learn to be enough because you have to be. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. For months they had treated her as inexperienced, as someone needing guidance. Meanwhile, she had more trauma experience than their entire department combined. "How many lives have you saved?" someone asked. Elena's answer was typical of her character. "I don't count saves. I count the ones I couldn't save. They're the ones who keep me learning, keep me trying harder." Dr. Harris, who had questioned her presence just hours earlier, now saw the truth. Elena hadn't been trying to replace anyone. She had been trying to save everyone. The young soldier who died in my arms in Kandahar, Elena continued, her voice steady but distant. He was 19. Same age as the kid we saved tonight with the motorcycle accident. That's why I can't give up. That night, word spread through the hospital. The quiet nurse who cleaned up after others, who never spoke unless necessary, who seemed so ordinary, had just performed what medical professionals would later call impossible. Local news wanted interviews. Medical journals wanted to study her techniques. Hospital administration wanted immediate promotion. Elena declined it all. I'm exactly where I need to be, she said, doing exactly what I'm meant to do. Elena smiled, then quietly began cleaning instrument trays, just as she had done every night for months. But now, no one would ever see that simple act the same way again. After that defining night, the hospital transformed. Doctors who had been arrogant began bowing their heads to learn from the young nurse. Elena didn't boast. She still did small things, cleaning surgical tables, picking up gloves, encouraging patients. But this time, no one dared underestimate her. Dr. Harris, who had once scolded her, approached one day and said, "I was wrong. You saved our entire department." Elena just smiled. No one saves anything alone. We did it together. From then on, doctors in the department began changing their perspective. They helped each other more, cared more deeply for patients, learned patience and discipline from Elena. Among the patient community, the story of the 3-hour nurse with 0 deaths spread. People began sending flowers, thank you letters. Elena remained silent, never claiming to be a hero. The changes went deeper than anyone expected. Elena's approach began spreading throughout the hospital. Other departments started asking, what are they doing differently in the ER? The answer was simple, but profound. Elena had shown them that medical care wasn't just about procedures and protocols. It was about seeing every patient as someone's entire world. Young medical students requested rotations in their department. They wanted to learn from the nurse who changed everything. Elena treated them the same as everyone else, teaching through example rather than words. Watch, she would say. See how this person's breathing changes when we talk to them? Medicine is as much about fear as it is about injury. Hospital administration noticed the change in statistics. Patient satisfaction scores skyrocketed. Medical error rates plummeted. Staff turnover, which had been a constant problem, nearly stopped. What's your secret? The hospital director asked Elena during a rare formal meeting. Elena's response was characteristically humble. When you've seen enough people die, you learn to value every moment someone lives. That changes how you treat every moment. Dr. Harris, who had become one of her strongest advocates, often reflected on that night. She didn't just save 40 patients. She saved us all from becoming the kind of doctors we never wanted to be. The story spread beyond the hospital. Medical schools began inviting Elena to speak. She usually declined, but when she did accept, her message was always the same. Excellence in medicine isn't about being brilliant. It's about caring enough to be your best when someone needs you most. The hospital established the Still Here protocol for mass casualty events, based on techniques she had demonstrated that night. But Elena insisted they remove her name from it. Staff members who worked with her that night became better practitioners. They carried her lessons to other hospitals, other cities. The ripple effect of one nurse's courage spread far beyond anyone could have imagined. If you believe every decent person deserves to be remembered, type, "I will live with kindness." Elena's story isn't just about a nurse who saved over 40 patients in 3 hours. It's a reminder that quiet people, often overlooked, may carry extraordinary power within them. Society sometimes focuses on titles and degrees, forgetting that courage and a compassionate heart are what truly save us. Elena chose silence, but her actions echoed far, like a small light in darkness, illuminating an entire hospital. Perhaps out there are other Elenas, people who go unrecognized but persistently save lives, help the world, make everything better simply by showing up and caring. Live with kindness, not for fame, but because every small action can save a life. The real lesson of Elena's story is this: heroism isn't about grand gestures or recognition. It's about showing up day after day, prepared to give your best when someone needs it most. In a world that often celebrates the loudest voices, Elena reminds us that sometimes the most powerful people are those who speak least and do most. Elena Moore remains on night duty, still writing, still here, in her log, still being the light when it's darkest. If you believe in stories that touch the heart like this one, leave a comment and subscribe to SN Quiet Stories. Real people creating real stories, not mass-produced AI.